One of the most iconic American brands is hitting the road out of the US. Harley-Davidson is shifting some production of motorcycles for European customers out of the United States to avoid the EU's tariffs. Those new taxes are retaliation for the Trump administration's tariffs on imported European goods. President Trump responded on Twitter, surprised that Harley-Davidson, of all companies, would be the first to wave the white flag, adding taxes are just a Harley excuse. Be patient. Wall Street, though, is worried a trade war might be imminent. Take a look at the closing numbers. The Dow fell more than 325 points. Tariffs mean uncertainty, and as we know, the markets do not like uncertainty. Okay, let's take a look at the impact of Donald Trump's economic policy. I'm joined by Cherin, Senior Vice President of EKA Public Relations. His specialty is international trade and global logistics. Did your title just get a lot longer?
It may have.
Okay.
It may have.
I mean, when you look at the situation with Harley-Davidson, the Department of Irony seems to be working, overtime here. According to the company's SEC filings, the EU tariff would add more than $2,000 to the average cost of a Harley exported from the US to the EU, eventually costing the company up to $100 million a year. But we did hear from the union representing the workers at Harley-Davidson saying this is all just an excuse. Many have pointed to the fact that the company's sales in the US have been falling. So is this move being driven, primarily by Trump's trade war and the tariffs, or is there more to this?
Well, look, John, real trade wars in the real world have real consequences. And this is the first real high-profile consequence we've seen as a result of the Trump administration policy. So look, the consensus in the international trading community overseas to a person is that this administration is kind of winging it. They're kind of making it up as they go along. There's no consistency in the application of tariff structures, and these policies have consequences. It's ironic. This is a really high-profile, iconic company to be the first real public victim of this administration.
Okay, the Republican Senator Ben Sasse released a statement saying, in part, this will go over like a Vesper at Sturgis. The problem isn't that Harley is unpatriotic, it's that tariffs are stupid. The tax increases on Americans, they don't work, and apparently we're going to see more of this. So what you and I guess a whole lot of others, including Ben Sasse, are saying that if this trade policy continues as is, there are going to be a whole lot of other companies pulling up stump and heading overseas?
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, just take Harley-Davidson, right, the company that's in the news today. Three times they've been to the well and they've been burned by this administration. Within the first weeks of Trump taking office, they went to the White House and urged the administration, begged Trump, please do not pull out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP agreement. He did. Number two, please, as they urge the administration, do not impose this 25% tariff on steel imports. It'll kill our manufacturing. He did that. And then just today, obviously, you saw the reciprocation from the EU in terms of the $2,200 tariff.
Okay. It was a year ago to the day at a campaign rally in Ohio. The president warned the days of taxing exported U.S. motorcycles were coming to an end.
We're doing great in the United States, but when we sell a motorcycle to certain countries, we have as much as a 100% tax to pay. And I said, tell me, when they sell back to us, meaning reciprocal, so when they sell back to us, what tax do we charge them? The answer is zero. Those days are going to be over very soon.
Yeah, again, good for politics. But the country with that 100% tax, India, the next highest tax on U.S. exports of motorcycles, Thailand and China, all the way down Russia, number 11 with 14%. EU was never mentioned in this. This is a whole new tax.
Right.
And to your point, this goes to the whole inconsistency of what is being taxed and what isn't being taxed, and that this is essentially a direct result of this trade war. There's no other cause and effect here. This is the Europeans responding directly to Donald Trump.
Absolutely, and the rhetoric sounds great, and it's red meat for his base, but there is absolutely no consistency in either the development or the implementation of the trade policy, and you're seeing that play out today. The irony here, too, John, is that where this is really going to have an impact is in the heartland. Those states that the Republicans are counting on for the midterm elections and that Trump is going to count on in the next presidential cycle, whether it's Harley-Davidson today or the soybean manufacturers in Minnesota and Iowa, who are also impacted by this, whiskey producers in Tennessee and the South. he, whether by default or design, is hurting the constituency that he and other Republicans desperately need.
Okay, here's a statement from the White House on tariffs. Our only defense against the cheap production, low wages and low standard of living which exists abroad, and our only method of maintaining our own standards is through a protective tariff. Only that wasn't this White House. That was President Calvin Coolidge, whose tariffs during the 1920s, when the economy was roaring, said to be one of the main factors that led to the Great Depression. 100 years on, is there any reason why tariffs would now actually work in trying to even the playing field and not have a similar result of slowing down the economy and causing a whole lot of pain? Has anything changed?
No, look, John, protectionism is great, and we study it in history class, but it doesn't have any applicability to the modern world. We live in a global, multilateral trading system. We've done that for the last 2, 3, 4 decades. And we've been good at it, and we've prospered as a result of that. And the Trump administration's policy, despite its inconsistencies, is really to go back to the era of unilateral trading. It just doesn't work in the global framework.
The problem is that with economic policy and with every decision that is made, there has to be a loser somewhere. When lead came out of paint, there were lead manufacturers who were upset. But at the end of the, so, that is the price you pay for a global economy. Eventually, someone, somewhere has to miss out. And what it seems is that this administration has not thought, 2 or 3 steps ahead.
They have not gamed this out well at all. You can afford, U.S. administrations, history has proven, can afford to be protectionist, to take risks, to beat the drum into a trade war. But there has to be some sort of arbiter. There has to be some sort of international body that can be the referee. We don't have that anymore. The Trump administration has made it very clear they're not going to rely on the World Trade Organization. They're certainly not going to rely on NAFTA. And again, they've pulled out of treaties like the TPP that would otherwise provide some protection.
Yeah, okay. Alex, yeah. And we're seeing all this play out now in the stock market too, so some rough days ahead.
Absolutely.
Alex, thank you.
You got it.